Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Lee.
Where's Chris? I'm looking at an empty chair.
He's still at work.
We put the T-Rex in his place quickly.
Right, intro again.
Welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Lee.
That was the T-Rex that's replacing Chris.
It is on the chair. Hang on, I'm gonna have to get a photo of this. Oh, this makes for good radio, doesn't it?
He's a good T-Rex.
Right, that's the photo. I will post that later.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we have anything to talk about that Grand Prix that was on yesterday?
Nah, we needed a bit of controversy. We didn't get any of that.
No, I think it was a straight flag to flag.
Mm.
Bit of controversy. Norris, his wheel fell off.
Stroll was
that
good.
wasn't very good. Stroll was good.
Was there anyone else good? Nah.
Ricciardo. In fact, the Renaults.
Ricciardo's
as predicted by Three Legs, Four Wheels last week.
In the alternate universe.
Ricciardo's pole time in a car even slightly better than Ricciardo's fourth place time in a car even slightly better than the Renault would have probably seen him on pole. That must have been a fucking blinding lap to put him fourth.
Yeah, I mean Renault have definitely, just like we predicted, got their pace right this weekend.
I hope so. I hope this is the start of a change for Renault.
Are we going to release a director's cut of last week's podcast?
You mean heavily edited with more stormtroopers?
Am I guessing that like last week's didn't go too well?
What did we say? Renault was easily going to be the fourth of all the engine suppliers there.
Right.
Honda were
absolutely going to storm it. Racing Point were going to be best of the rest by a long way. And good solid points finishes for Haas, I think, got mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Were you doing the podcast in the upside down?
Pretty much.
Now, I know I was sober.
Who'd have thought I was the calming, intelligent influence on this?
Stopped clock.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, we managed to get everything about as far wrong as it was possible to get.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We did have a Mercedes win.
Yeah, I mean our predictions didn't come out too badly. We all scored points, so that wasn't too bad. But yeah, we've got to talk about Renault's performance in qualifying.
Yeah,
before we do the team by team rundown of the race. That was absolutely stunning by both of them.
Yeah, it was great. They were there all weekend on pace. I mean, on a power circuit as well. That's what I find really weird. The only thing that worries me slightly is that because the car's lacking downforce. You know, sometimes when you get a car that does particularly well on power circuits, and it's not because the engine's good, it's because they're just lacking a bit of downforce.
Well, I don't know, because it's not something that they've complained about a lot this season.
No, it's true. It's been the brakes, hasn't it, that team's been complaining about the most. But and maybe it's just the fact Danny Ricciardo is getting used to having a car, because I remember I ended up being accidentally right about it, didn't I? When I said maybe it's down to having the same engine as he had in the Red Bull, but not having a Red Bull around it, and it seems to be the lack of downforce and not having the brake pedal underneath him.
I mean,
and it's not an Adrian Newey car, and he's been in an Adrian Newey car for several years.
Yeah.
I mean, he did say that was a big story for the first three races, that he just wasn't getting used to the new car quick enough. And he seems to have got a handle on it now.
Well, when you think about it, apart from the what did he do? Did he do half a season with that fucking terrible team?
HRT.
Yeah, was it half a season or like 2 races or something? He didn't do a full year, did he?
No, he didn't. Did he? I want to say replace Narain Carter-Kayan at one point.
There was more men in and out of that car than there is the porn star.
Yeah, I think he came in partway through the season, and then before he went to Toro Rosso. So he's had Adrian Newey cars or Adrian Newey influenced cars.
Yeah.
basically since his first full season in F1. And yeah, there is going to be a transition period. And unfortunately, he's had to do it in public in a very high-profile way.
Yeah.
Because he was the big move of the off-season.
Yeah,
or the
I
silly
mean,
season.
you don't think of it now because of where he is on the grid, but up till he moved teams to a team that isn't quite as good as Red Bull, you'd have had him in the top 4 drivers on the grid, probably.
Yeah.
You know,
Got poles, won races.
yeah.
In a car that shouldn't have won races.
Yeah.
Outsider for a championship.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really hope that the cars come together. He's getting used to it. And Hulk as well seemed to do a bloody stable performance as well.
Yeah, and it was a stable performance, but you'd almost argue that Hulk seems to think that he had a bad weekend when you see it. So he obviously thinks there was more that he'd left on the table than he actually did. He had problems in the race, didn't he?
I don't remember. He did get team ordered.
I know he got team ordered, but I think there was something as well where, was there a power delivery issue or a heat thing?
Gearbox. He was complaining
Gearbox.
about slow upshifts, wasn't
that's
he?
it.
We'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but we'll do our usual and go to the back. And Williams weren't last but one.
No, Russell was putting in a decent performance on genuine pace.
To be fair, even though that they weren't last but one, Robert Kubica did do his very best to try and make up for this on his own.
You know when you get pissed off when you're playing the Formula 1 game and you just turn around and drive backwards?
Yeah, because George Russell only got lapped one. Did he get lapped once or twice?
I think it was twice.
Yeah. So Robert Kubica went out and got himself lapped an extra time just to try and make up for the fact.
I can't remember where that all of a sudden 30-second gap came from. Did he have a spin or something?
Nope. I don't think there's any problems that I saw, and I keep a bit of an eye on this to see how things are going.
He did take a second pit stop.
Yes. But then he lost more time after that.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point he was lapping 6 seconds
George
off
Russell
the
lapped
leader's
him,
pace.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's more than a pit stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pit stop if you're reading a paper.
So, nipped out, sat in the back of the garage on the bog. Copy of this week's Autosport. Other motor racing magazines are available. Sounds like a perfectly good way to spend a Sunday afternoon to me.
Sat there working out like management strategies with Claire.
What, throwing darts at a wall?
With his strong hand.
Managed to get 3 picture cards and went home with a goldfish. Another weekend pretty much as expected for Williams, except
No, not really.
the worst signs that George Russell can get something decent out of the car.
He beat Magnussen. So that's a stunning weekend
in
for
the
Williams.
in the worst car that Magnussen's ever driven.
Yeah, here's an idea, Magnussen. If you've got a perfectly good working Formula 1 car, don't throw it into a wall and then complain when it's been put back in 8 hours.
Yeah.
I'm throwing this one out there now. Gunter Steiner for Hero of the Week for his radio bollocking.
He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He sat him down. He just like, no, lad, listen to me now. It's great. He stuck him on the naughty step.
Yeah. I mean, seeing as we have moved on to Haas, oh God, they sucked.
Right. In qualifying, do you think Magnussen deserved a penalty for unsafe rejoin of the track after hitting the wall with only 2 wheels?
He nearly got one for unsafe rejoining of Earth.
Which one? When he bounced off the wall of champions, or when he bounced off the wall on the other side of the track? It could have been both.
On the other side.
I'd just like to say though, we knock Roman Grosjean.
No. He usually knocks somebody else.
Yeah, but to be fair, jokes aside, we knock Roman Grosjean quite a lot. But I'd like to turn around and say what a good man that was for the compassion he showed his teammate.
Now I've seen the video, the official F1 video. It had the subtitles on. He did say Kev twice, and then oh fucking hell, I've got the worst luck in the world. Grosjean is now claiming that he is at the bad luck Olympics. Yeah. And you know what? He finished 4th.
See,
Missed the podium in that as well.
I mean, when he was turned around and said, "I have the worst look in the world," he still didn't know.
He had 4 wheels on his car and didn't know if his teammate was dead.
I was just going to say, he didn't know whether Kevin Magnussen's body and consciousness were part of the same vessel.
Have you ever seen an accident in Formula One where the teammate doesn't say, "Is my teammate all right?"
I've never seen somebody drive past a crash in Formula One where they turn around and say, "Is he all right?" It's so weird.
And definitely not, "Oh, that's going to be so bad for me."
Just for that and that alone, he deserved to be knocked out.
Yeah, by Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure, and there's nothing been released, but Herr Steiner will probably have a few words to say, or Signor Steiner, I keep forgetting he's Italian. Talking of Gunther Steiner, you know how the end of the race, the teams usually release long, massive statements about what they did and how they did, and there's all these quotes. I am going to read Gunther Steiner's entire post-race press release.
Okay.
Are you sitting comfortably?
I'm eagerly anticipating.
Right, this may take a while. Have you all been to the toilet? Have you all got a drink in front of you?
Yes, but just before you start, I have just realised that Gunther Steiner sounds like it's part of some sort of strange, small European language based on German, and it means large beer.
Right, you ready for this? This weekend didn't end better than yesterday. We got 2 cars to the end, but the result is quite disappointing. That's it.
It pretty much sums up the race, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all right, Magnussen did have the speed to get into Q3 at that point, but I think he would have been knocked out if he hadn't have crashed.
I think he'd have got through into Q3 because he was looking good, and would he have got another run?
No, because the time was up when he crashed.
Right.
So there were faster cars behind him because Grosjean was actually on a faster lap than K-Mag's fastest one,
right,
which would have knocked him down, and Verstappen was on a faster lap as well.
Yeah, it depends where he popped himself, but I don't know. He seemed to have the legs on Grosjean all weekend, and I can see where his frustration came from because they keep doing this to themselves, don't they? They seem to have a terrible race car.
Yeah.
They seem to be able to do it in qualifying, then they've got a terrible race car.
Well, according to Steiner in a separate interview, not the official press release, what he said they did with Magnussen's car was try a completely different setup just to experiment and see if it worked because they had the opportunity to because they were starting from the pit stop.
They removed the brakes.
Yeah. Well, they put Grosjean's brakes on because apparently they never work anyway. And it was the setup that he was complaining about, not the quality of build of the car.
Right.
This sounds partially true, partial spin to me.
Sounds like spin to me because it seemed to be going pretty well the day before.
Yeah, but if they tried a different setup to what they've been using the day, no, they could because they were starting from the pit lane.
But they were braking Parc Ferme. So.
They had to brake Parc Ferme because he needed a new chassis
so you can still set everything up differently.
If you give up your grid slot and start from the pit lane, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Oh right, because I thought you could still only adjust the front wing in that
no,
case.
you can change everything.
Right, okay.
If you break Parc Ferme conditions, and start from the pit lane, you can do whatever you want because he raced in a different chassis to the one he qualified in.
Why would you do that? Like considering he was going well on Saturday. It's not like the car was doing badly and it was like, oh well, fucking hell, lads, we might as well just do this because it's going to be bad anyway.
Maybe they'd set the car up in some kind of trim for 1 lap pace per qualifying, get into Q3, and then hope to God the tyres hold out.
Yeah, it just seems like a massive mistake, doesn't it?
I mean, don't forget when you got a teammate that's one of the most likely to bring out an early safety car, and if you're going to be starting on softs and want an early pit stop to take advantage of it, then you might as well do that. Stick the hard tyres on, and then just become a rolling roadblock in, say, 8th or 9th place, holding everybody up. You go home with points.
Yeah.
Whereas when they've got the opportunity to change it so that the car's going to be easier on tyres, maybe,
right,
and you can actually race, give it a go. And it failed.
Yeah.
Big style.
Yeah, they were way lower than their qualifying suggested they should be.
I mean, what was it? 10th, and Grosjean actually didn't set a time in Q2 because he aborted his first lap because he flat spotted.
Mm-hmm.
But he was quite high up in Q1. So, yeah, the pace was there for him to be further up.
Yeah. But they're always there in qualifying. You know, we've seen this before with them, and then...
So is this the car or is it strategy?
I think it's the car. Because it's not like they're up there for half the race until it's time to go into the time to stop. They just seem to start the race and then slowly fall backwards from there.
I mean, the problem that they've been saying is, like Ferrari, well, just like Ferrari, they can't get enough heat into the tyres to make them work. But they had a chance to run on the hardest available compound, which the hard tyres were the C3s, which is slap bang in the middle. So they didn't have to worry about getting as much heat into the harder tyres. But that still didn't happen. I mean, Grosjean had a bit of a problem at the start when he was collecting everybody's front wing.
Yeah.
Especially on his halo.
Yes.
Yeah, he did a good job clearing all the crap out of his eye line and get him moving again.
It wasn't his fault he took to the escape road either, did he? He took the escape road to avoid an accident. It wasn't just a normal Grosjean throwing it into the first corner and going, I can't do it.
No,
he had a lump of car on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was Albon and a Racing Point next to him and bits of Albon's front wing right in his visor.
It's unfortunate for Albon because obviously Kvyat did well later on. You know, I think Albon could have made his way through with the car he had under him as well.
Yeah, I'll get to Toro Rosso later. We've got Alpha next. Back to the old Sauber days. A little bit anonymous this weekend.
And Kimi's been smashing it, but I'm kind of wondering whether is it been since Spain that Alpha have been on the way down?
I think it's been since Australia. They've just not quite ever been as good as we thought they should.
It just makes you wonder whether whatever their updates they've been bringing they've gone a wrong way with development, or they've brought a major update to the car and it just hasn't worked somewhere down the line. We haven't heard about it because that's what it seems to be. It seems everyone else has took a step forward and they've just stayed where they are.
This might be a stupid question, but have they got the Ferrari style front wing?
I don't know. No, I don't think so, because there was a big talk about their front wing, wasn't there, when they first put it on? And I actually think Ferrari, didn't they take something from there? Didn't they develop, like, all of a sudden turn up with a more Alpha style front wing?
I'm just...
Yeah, because
they've got the eyelashes. No one else has got the eyelashes on the car.
Because Scarbs was saying that sort of front wing looks like it might not have too much scope for developing it.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. There's the Alpha front wing is stacked towards the middle, and Ferrari's is stacked towards the outside.
Right.
So they are using the same concept as Mercedes.
Mm.
So it's not that.
Yeah.
And of course, you never get to hear how the car's performing from Kimi during the weekend.
Nope.
And you never hear from Giovinazzi during the weekend.
No.
Did you hear what he said after qualifying?
No, missed that.
More classic Kimi. Buxton turned around to him and said,
"Oh, I know the one.
Do you think the problems Alpha is having is a hangover from the last race?" He said, "I wish I had a hangover."
Yes, I did hear that. In fact, I retweeted that one. Yeah, it was a real non-race. You didn't see him do anything, and anonymous 13th and 15th place.
I think it's another one of those, like Giovinazzi. I think it was just a poor race. Kimi he's clearly in this place, isn't he? Where if the car's working and he's happy in the car, he seems to get good results. But Kimi's never ever been the driver to drag a result out of a bad car.
No,
that's basically been his whole career.
Yeah,
and I'd like to see Kimi go out in a blaze of glory. I know he's got a two-year contract with them, but no contracts in F1 aren't worth the paper they're written on usually. So we could be seeing Kimi's last season. Oh my God, didn't we say that when we first started the show 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I think he'll be in Formula One next year. I still think there's a chance that he might end up back in Ferrari. I think he might end up back in Ferrari if Seb decides to chuck the towel in, which I think is becoming more and more likely.
There were some statements on Sunday that definitely made it sound like it. Right, the last of the non-point scoring teams that we have is McLaren. Lando was on fire this weekend.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, his wheels weren't pointing in the same direction.
That was such a weird failure. I've never seen anything like that.
I've never seen a brake melt suspension before.
No, I think there's been a couple of things happen there. You know, like some sort of fuck up in manufacturing of part of the suspension and a brake fire or something. I'm not having it that a brake fire is just burnt through carbon fibre. Do you know what I mean? Unless there's something wrong with the carbon fibre.
I'm going to quote a message we got from one of our listeners, Michael Incognito, who was there this weekend.
Yeah.
After Lando went out.
I wonder if anyone saw him. It's not my fault, it's his name.
Turn 1 smells like burnt tyres and fuel. Loving it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did point out that's what the Isle of Man usually smells like this time of year.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sainz running a good one, but then ran into problems late on.
Yeah, he got tear off in his brake caliper or something, didn't he?
First lap on it. I think it turned out. He pitted on like lap 2. Yeah. He was
in incredibly early.
Yeah. And then he did, because that's why he had no pace towards the end of the race, is because he did the whole the whole race. Was it on mediums? Was that the hardest tyre? Was it hards?
Yeah.
No, but I think was the medium the hardest tyre?
C3s were the hard tyre this week, so he did it on the white wall tyres.
Yeah. So,
which have been mediums before.
Yeah. It's
they're meant to simplify it, and we're still getting confused.
Yeah, unenviable position, isn't it? That. You know, when your strategies give you fucking absolutely nowhere to go with it.
Well, I think if he'd picked something up and there was going to be problems, then I think they must have wanted to bring him in and check the car and thought might as well switch the strategy now.
Well, even if you've got something in your brake duct or something, you know, it's even perfectly working brakes can go. Yeah. In Canada, it's a heavy brake circuit.
I mean, don't forget as well, pitting early in Canada isn't as much of a gamble as it is at other circuits, because was it 50% of races have had a safety car since the safety car was brought in? So you know there is a chance that you'll get time to change things on the fly.
There is a chance, but how many races are we seeing lately where people are gambling on safety cars and it's fucking them up? Whenever somebody leaves somebody out going, oh, well, there might be a safety car, it just ends up with them being about 18 seconds behind who they were chasing.
I'll tell you what happens. One of the teams says to one of the drivers, we'll keep you out in case there's a safety car. Roman Grosjean, hold my beer because I want to drive carefully.
I thought what was usually said in those situations is someone turns around to our driver and says, we're going to keep you out in case there's a safety car. Did you hear that, Charles?
We've just got Pat Simmons on the pit wall to pass this message on to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate one for McLaren, but the pace is there.
It was a good weekend for them, even if it was a crap Sunday.
Friday and Saturday, fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't really say anything about two incidents of pure dumb luck.
Yeah, same with, it was a shame Carlos got his grid drop as well. Yeah. He got a 3-place grid drop for holding up Albon.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was another shame. But, I mean, I think Carlos seems to be a driver reborn a little bit in McLaren, doesn't he?
He's not. I've said this before. He's not got the perennial threat of Helmut Marko hanging over his head.
Yeah.
And that, as we know, destroys drivers.
I think all he needs to do now is...
Talking of which, one of the publications, can't remember which it is, Paddock Magazine, I think, they released their list of the 100 most influential people in F1 this year. And I take issue with the fact that Dietrich Mateschitz was above Helmut Marko in that list. I think that's utterly wrong.
Yeah,
because it's Helmut Marko that decides whether someone lives or dies. Dietrich Mateschitz just gives him the money to kill them with.
I don't know. I mean, I've no idea. No idea. But what about Carlos? I think what he needs to do is he seems to need more self-belief. Because he's constantly saying something's going to go wrong before even anything goes wrong. I can't help thinking that maybe that might be his downfall when it comes to actually taking that next step.
Possibly. Could be one of those drivers who, if they get a lucky race win once in their career, will suddenly go on to be 5 times world champion.
But he doesn't seem to have that. He doesn't seem to have that ruthless sort of competitiveness about him. He seems quite mild all the time, and then even when he's got a good car underneath him, he seems to find an issue with it. Oh, there's this or there's that, and you just think, well, just fucking at least even if you don't believe what you're saying, just say something more positive, just to put those sort of vibes out there about it.
It could be, but I mean that's the way that F1 drivers have always been.
Yeah,
for the vast majority.
I think there's a difference between like Lewis Hamilton when he'll big up another team, but he does it in a very confident way, to what Carlos Sainz does when he's knocking his own chances because he thinks something's going to go wrong. There's no arrogance behind what he's doing, or no confidence.
A pessimist is never disappointed.
This is true. It's true.
One of the best 90s indie songs as well, in my opinion. Right, Toro Rosso. Albon, DNF, nearly DN make it to turn 2.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault. Racing incident?
Yeah, he was a sandwich, wasn't he? He was the fill-in in a Grosjean, not Grosjean.
No, yeah, but he had a racing point either side with Grosjean nearly ramming into him when he had to.
Was it the 2 racing points? Was that right? I couldn't remember who the other car. I knew one of them.
I think Stroll wasn't involved in that, because I remember being surprised. It was Perez on one side. Was it one of the Alphas on the other side?
Was it an Alpha? Might have been Giovinazzi. That might have been his first excursion of the weekend.
Possibly.
I think it was Giovinazzi.
No, I just thought it was a pair of racing points, but lost his front wing and put him well down. Yeah, well down on time. I think it was by the time he got back to the pits, I think he came out something like 50 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do struggle to work out sometimes why, especially if you've got a car which isn't going particularly well in an age of Formula One where we've got such good reliability and so few parts to be had. I don't see the point in continuing sometimes.
Gambling on a safety car, maybe?
Gambling on a safety, yeah, but even so, if there's only like the smallest chance of you scoring a point, but getting a whole fucking race on your car, where if not getting that race on your car might mean that you end up having to serve penalties that race later and get a benefit in qualifying.
Well, I think he was on the last race for this engine because Honda or Toro Rosso are certainly still on schedule.
Right. Okay.
And I think Albon's due to get only his second engine of the year next week.
Right. Cool.
Well, week after next.
Yeah.
So if that was the case,
it wouldn't have mattered too much.
There's every point in carrying on because. If nothing else, you get a free test out of it.
Don't they usually slap a new engine in for Canada, though? Isn't that usually one of the change races?
Usually, but I think Honda's next development is due next week.
Right, okay.
I think the other thing as well is you've got a team of, about 50 go to a Grand Prix from each team? So 50 mechanics and staff who have uprooted their lives for a weekend. You're not going to do 2 laps and say, "Oh, the nose fell off. We're not going to win this one."
I think the bigger picture is Formula One, though, isn't it? I don't understand sometimes having cars poodle around at the back. I know somebody's got to be last. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
But when you've got a semi-competitive car, which is a point scorer, it just seems weird putting all the mileage on the parts.
There's also the sponsors as well. And,
that's a very good point. I didn't think of sponsors. But
because if you're still on track, there's a chance of TV time and a lot of sponsorship contracts. There's extra payments written in for how much TV time you get in a particular race, even if you're being lapped.
Yeah,
you're still getting that logo in front of
the
millions of people.
Yeah.
So, and like I say, with Canada, you never know if there's going to be a safety car. Kvyat, great move to get himself into the points because he was looking nailed on for 12th.
Yeah, another good race by him. It's the was it Gasly? Was Gasly tucked up behind him? Was he racing Gasly at some point?
Probably was. He does seem to be most weeks.
I think he was, because I know Gasly had a problem with someone else as well, but he does seem to be outperforming that car a little bit. Kvyat. I think he's doing a really good job at maybe making a case for himself going to being in a different team. When Red Bull have eventually decided they've had enough of him.
Well, because of his experience in endurance. Sorry, that
was
last year's Toro Rosso excuse. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a different Toro Rosso driver who's ended up at Ferrari,
piloting the sim as well.
Yeah.
Notice he was there this weekend.
Yep.
Who?
Brendan Hartley.
Oh, was he?
Yes. They made him do a very awkward photo shoot with one of the Montreal Canadian ice hockey players.
Right, okay.
Sorry, Canadiens ice hockey players. And you could tell just from the pictures that neither of them knew who the other one was. I can't imagine ice hockey's big in New Zealand.
Probably not.
Any Kiwi listeners want to tell me something different, please feel free. But
is ice hockey big anywhere that isn't Canada or Chicago?
I've been to see the Slough Jets play.
Have you?
Yeah.
I once got offered tickets to Bradford, I can't remember what they're called, game. It's massive in Northern Ireland.
Is it?
Yeah, the arena in Belfast, they've got a home team there. And I think they get something like 12,000, 13,000 in there every home match. It's huge in Russia as well.
Crazy.
But that aside, Kvyat, who does like ice hockey.
Being Russian.
Great race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Racing Point.
Talking of great races.
Yeah.
Man of the match.
Is that Lance Stroll's race for this season?
He might have another one somewhere. We've got another couple of street circuits coming. But we said it, didn't we? I think. I said at the not obviously the podcast before last that he always goes well in Canada.
Yeah,
home advantage.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
was it Schumacher that was the first one to say you always get a couple of extra tenths from your home crowd?
Yeah, but even so, it's still Stroll.
I mean, a couple of extra tenths should have put him in 14th with what the pace of the car looked like in qualifying.
Yeah.
Racing Point had a crap Friday and a crap Saturday, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Stroll hasn't had a good Saturday. Anyway,
since Monza.
I'm surprised. It is fortunate for him that Canada seems to be his race.
And considering he was using the old spec engine as well, because by God did he light that up.
Yeah. The bloody the odds were well long of him getting points as well
on an outlap as well.
Yeah.
And that really shit Mercedes up.
Yeah.
So much so that it nearly happened against a Lewis. But to drag an engine that was one spec behind every other Mercedes car on the grid into ninth and do the job on his teammate as well.
I did the job on Bottas as well, didn't he, from O'Reilly? Yeah, but he held Bottas up something fierce for a while.
He was doing a good job backing him up.
Yeah.
Nearly as good a job as Ricciardo.
Yes.
But Perez didn't seem to have it this weekend.
No.
You know, it's a circuit where you can run your tyres long. He's good at doing longer stints on tyres. Mm-hmm. So that set of hards he was running at the end should have been pretty bloody immaculate by the time he got there, and he should have been further up than he was.
You'd have fancied him like any other day. If you'd have turned around and said that he's going to have a reasonably good race car and it's going to be like tyre limited, you'd have fancied him for a point finished any day.
Yeah, he was just phoning it in.
I don't know if he was phoning it in. I don't think he had the pace. I don't think he was just pootling around, not being bothered.
I think he couldn't get it hooked up.
Yeah.
Just
no one is going to be beaten by Stroll if they have the opportunity not to be in the same car.
Yeah, I think two things happened. Perez had a crap race. Stroll had a great race.
Yeah.
I don't know. You say nobody's going to be beaten by Stroll if they've got the opportunity not to be. The radio message is that we don't hear how many times is he being told not to be. Daddy's special soldier.
I don't think that's happening. I think he's. I know Stroll's bringing a lot of money into that team, but also so is Perez. He's bringing enough money in that team to hold his own.
And Perez saved the team last year.
Yeah.
Daddy Stroll might have done as well, but without Perez.
Also, I think that if anything, that shows that Perez is more than adequate to know his legal wranglings. So I don't think that stuff's going to happen.
I'm pretty convinced that his backers that he seems to mention at every available opportunity do have good legal teams in as well.
Yeah.
All right, Renault. For me, team of the week.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
By rights, from what we've seen this season and the performances that we've seen, forget who's driving the car, but the way that they've only been able to drive the car this season, there was no way they should have qualified where they did based on previous form. There's no way they should have finished where they did on previous form. That was outstanding from everyone concerned in the team.
Yeah.
From whoever built the car to Danny and Hulk that were driving it.
I just hope it's a turn and not a blip.
Yeah.
I hope it's a turn of form and not just that one result which proves the rule of them being lost at sea.
And Danny Rick said after the race that he loved messing with Bottas. And holding him up and basically ruining his Sunday. You will find an innuendo in anything.
His name is Bot-ass.
Never noticed. Although everyone in America seems to call him Botas.
Yeah.
Which is a nasty condition you get from doing too much rowing. I'm allowed them as well. But
you make me sound like Dave Chappelle sometimes.
Doesn't he keep retiring?
Yeah, but then he keeps coming back and being brilliant, as I am doing on this podcast.
Oh, what, retiring?
No.
So anyway, Hulk in his traditional 7th place.
Yeah,
but not the highest Renault finisher.
Nope.
Yeah, like you say, I'd like to hope that Renault have turned the corner and.
The power's clearly there. It has to be there. If they can do well on a power circuit, I'm not saying they're going to go and win a world championship or races this year, but it shows that they're getting there.
Just hope they haven't peaked one race too soon because it's their home race in 2 weeks.
But it's a chassis-dependent circuit, though, isn't it? The Paul Ricard.
I think it's kind of a mix.
It's quite fast, isn't it?
There are some decent straights on there. All right, you got the two.
But isn't it fast because you got like the long sweeping corners?
Yeah,
it's not fast in the same way Canada's fast.
I don't know. They've got a long straight just with a couple of chicanes in it.
Yeah, but every circuit's got a long straight somewhere. But they just seem like very different circuits.
This is longer and faster than say Monaco.
Mm. If Ricciardo would have won that race, he'd have probably gone. They renamed it the Paul Ricciardo Circuit.
No, they are definitely on the up.
I hope so.
Red Bull, calling this one binary.
Well, that's Red Bull this year.
Yeah. Interesting quote by Max on Saturday after qualifying when Grosjean basically stopped him getting through to Q3. Magnussen. See, force of habit. I'm referencing your tweet here. Anyone else thought that was Grosjean?
Was Magnussen's quote, "I'm that much faster than my teammate when we both get out of the cars. I've aged more."
But yeah, interesting quote from Verstappen after qualifying. If nothing unusual happens, I'll finish 5th. So it was already saying, even though he qualified behind Gasly, he was going to beat him.
Yeah.
That's a subtle way of
unless he penciled Gasly in for the win.
He might have thought he'd beat Bottas.
Yeah, it's. I
just think that's Max throwing complete shade.
Right? Do we say? Do you think? I don't think he's throwing shade. 'Cause I don't think there's any need to. I genuinely do. I don't think there was any malice in that comment. I just think that's him saying, if everything's all right, I should finish about 5th. He's not thinking about his teammate. There's no point playing mind games.
I don't think he's playing mind games, but I do think he meant that he would finish ahead of his teammate.
Oh, he probably did think.
But I think that's just telling it like it is.
Yeah, I don't think he was saying that to the press to get to his teammate or to put his teammate down.
No, he was just saying that as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
Basically what he was saying was, I am in the fastest Red Bull. I'm gonna beat my teammate anyway.
Yeah, it's like sitting down with the Penguins to play chess and then cheering when you win.
Never tried that. Yeah, what are Gasly's problems?
I think he's maybe he's brought up a year early, but he just looks out of his depth at the minute.
Yeah, in the Toro Rosso, he looked like a fast, racy driver and someone who could possibly sit alongside Verstappen.
But he only had 2 good races, as I can remember, like 2 outstanding races. I think
there were 2 outstanding races, but if you were just watching him in the race,
and Brendan Hartley as a teammate,
yeah,
I think that's what might be the big factor.
That flattered
here.
him a bit.
Yeah. Brendan Hartley was not the ideal teammate to have, but
good hair. Good hair.
Not these days. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh dear.
Though I do wonder, maybe Max is playing mind games and screwing him over.
I don't think he has to. See, that's the thing. It's in the same way as I don't think Alonso would have had to play mind games with Van Dorn. I just think that it's the mind game he's got is in the same way as almost like a Bottas-Hamilton situation, although obviously Bottas and Hamilton are closer. But Lewis has that feeling that if I get into the car and everything works well, I should finish ahead of you.
Yeah.
Just because I'm faster.
I mean, also don't forget Max is his father's son, so he's probably challenging him to a fight at the same time.
Yes. But right, the main thing take home here is do you think Red Bull have to be thinking now about replacing Gasly before the end of the year?
No, I think he's going to see the year out.
Right, but they're hemorrhaging points. Not only they're hemorrhaging points, I think the big issue they've got is one thing Red Bull are really good at is race strategy.
Yeah. And
right now, they're sending Max Verstappen to war on his own. There's nothing like, even like Ferrari have got Charles Leclerc there, which is always up there with Vettel. So if they want to, they can split the strategies, they can do something like that, they can try and force Mercedes into making a stop when they don't want to. I mean, what can they force anyone to do with Gasly?
Right, you say Red Bull hemorrhaging points. They are 94 ahead of McLaren in 4th.
Yeah.
And they are 48 behind Ferrari in 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
I think they knew they were going to come 3rd this season. Come what may.
They're probably there, but don't forget you do get more money per point, don't you? And it's not just about that; it's about pride. At the end of the day, like a team want both their drivers to be pushing each other. Yeah, I'm sure there's a favoured way that most teams want things to go, But in the same way,
they're certainly going that way for Red Bull at the minute because Max is definitely number one.
Yeah, but the problem with this weekend was like Max rescued it fucking fabulously, to the point where I think he might have been able to scratch his way onto the podium and beat Leclerc if he hadn't have had the issues that he had in qualifying. But let's just say, for instance, that Max hadn't have had the great race he had. Let's just say the stops didn't work out for him. He found himself a fucking Stroll he couldn't get past.
Yeah.
Or then he came out of the pits and there was a couple of back markers there that bogged him down for a lap, and he couldn't keep the relentless move through the field he did. They're fucked.
Well, don't forget with that though, they strategized for him to run as long as possible, and there was still some life in those tyres.
Yeah.
By the time that he pitted, because he started on the hard tyres.
Yeah, but what I mean is, if it doesn't work out, that's when they're hemorrhaging points because they can't rely on Gasly to do a similar job to Max. If it wasn't for Max doing a good job, they wouldn't have finished fifth because Gasly wasn't capable of moving forward.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What is happening with Gasly? But I don't think that they'll win him before the end of the season.
I think Danny Kvyat might end up in that Red Bull again.
I think that would be a bad decision for Kvyat and would probably break him again, which would be a bad decision for Red Bull.
But would he do better than Gasly?
Maybe in a couple of races before everything fell apart.
But what if it doesn't fall apart? Because he does seem to be a different guy. I think this might be another issue with the drivers as well. It's worked with Max and it worked with Vettel bringing these guys in, particularly young. But realistically, Max wasn't even part of the Red Bull driver program. But so if you take him out of it even and just look at Vettel as being the really young driver that they brought into Formula One, all the other young guys they brought in haven't worked.
No.
They brought them in too soon.
I just don't think
Ricciardo?
Was he young though?
He
wasn't Vettel young when he came in.
He'd been on the program a while, and it was Red Bull that put him in the HRT.
Yeah, but when he got to the HRT, he wasn't like Sebastian Vettel young.
He was 19 or so, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought he was 20. I thought he was in his 20s. But anyway, what I mean is we can't argue about the fucking Red Bull meat grinder.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
But I don't think sticking Danny Kvyat in a team with a hyper competitive teammate will work well.
Maybe not. But I'm surprised that you think Red Bull care about their drivers.
It's not about caring about their drivers. It's about saying, right, what's going to be the result of this? It's not, oh no, we might break Danny. It's, we might break a driver and lose the points.
Ricciardo was actually 22 in his first race.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I thought he was older. But I just can't see if Gasly's still doing what he's doing now come the summer break. Do they do that for another race? Like I say, you've got this situation now. Where did Gasly finish again? Sorry, eighth. Yeah, that car shouldn't be eighth. Not when everything's going right in qualifying and stuff like that. And again, it takes. It doesn't even take Max having a bad race. He gets hit. He has a crash. He gets a puncture. He has a mechanical failure, and all of a sudden, the only car you've got is going to be 4 places behind where Max would finish.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
They should obviously get the Hulk in.
They should probably get Hulkenberg in. He also doesn't look like a Wind in the Willows character with half his makeup.
Don't know where to go with that. Now I've got my own theories on what the Red Bull organisation are going to look like next season. We'll do a silly season bit later on.
I've got a real problem with people that can't grow beards, trying to grow beards, and Gasly is in desperate need of a shave.
Right. Well, I think that about covers everything for For it.
Thanks,
on
people.
To the news.
Yeah,
Have you enjoyed it?
Don't think there's anything more to talk about. Oh, yeah, Bottas came 6th.
Yeah.
Crap weekend for him.
It's going to be interesting.
He's the Gasly of Mercedes.
But
in this race,
it's going to be interesting to see whether he recovers from this or whether he just becomes Bottas 1.0 again.
That was a 2018 Bottas we saw this season, and a lot of people were saying this as well.
Yeah, one of the apps didn't work, and they had to downgrade his firmware.
Because I want to do the top three separately because I think we need to.
Yeah.
Bottas was interesting power slide in qualifying.
He was so lucky. I mean, I understand there's a lot of skill involved in keeping himself out of the wall, but it's 50-50, isn't it?
Yeah. Funnily enough, as soon as he did that slide, Chris put that message on our chat thread about him driving like a Finnish rally driver.
Yeah.
At the exact same instant, Sean said the same thing.
We've never seen them in the same room together.
We did last week.
We
were both on the podcast.
No, you're wrong. Why do you think Chris always wears glasses?
Because he's got bad eyesight.
No.
Are you saying Chris is the Clark Kent to Sean's Superman?
Yep.
Right, okay.
Shall we talk about the obvious thing then?
I think I just did.
Yeah, I think we have to look at the top three as one entity.
Well, realistically, we can get Charles Leclerc out of the way because he didn't actually have a lot to do with the winning of the race.
No, but if he'd have put his foot down a little bit more, he could have had something to do with finishing second. And the timing screen screwed up, and at one point we're showing him in second place.
Can we talk about that strange pit strategy they stuck him on, where they seem to think that they gamble on a safety car coming out over 3 laps?
But it's Ferrari's now way of keeping them separate, because do they know that if he runs alongside Vettel will end up going backwards?
Well, it does that. It does feel like that. It felt like that to me when they did it. I thought, well, have they got enough time on the rest of the field to where they just leave him out on old tyres for a little bit? Because he lost about 8 seconds, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he kept his position. It was if you're number oneing Vettel and not wanting Charles Leclerc to get involved in any of this, it was the perfect outcome for Ferrari. But I just couldn't understand the strategy.
But how many times last year did we say exactly the same about what they were doing to Kimi?
No, but it was obvious what they were doing to Kimi, because they'd leave him out when he was at least in the lead. They'd leave him out in the lead knowing that sooner or later Hamilton is going to come up to him and it might cost him a couple of seconds. The only person that lost time was Charles.
I think last time they were using strategy to try and hurt Mercedes.
Yeah.
This year they're using strategy to try and stop Charles and Vettel fighting on the track.
Also, I do think it's kind of a lack of bollocks on Ferrari's part, because given the mistakes Charles Leclerc's made, especially in qualifying, we've seen that reasonably regular. I don't think Ferrari can rely on him to be the driver they need. The driver they need Vettel to be, for instance. It's not his time yet, and maybe if they were more honest about that, might work out a little bit better for him.
Possibly, yeah.
Because he fucked qualifying. He couldn't string it together, and but that was the same with him in Sauber as well. He'd have good races, but he couldn't get his sectors together.
Possibly.
So there's a little bit of me thinking, did we all get a little bit overexcited about Charles Leclerc, and is he just a good Formula One driver, but not quite showing the elite level Formula One driver potential?
No, I think he is still a potential elite level. He's just making some mistakes that will.
But do you not think that would have? He's already had a year in Formula One, and I always seem to think I don't. I never really believe in the slow burn champion. I know some drivers might take.
Jackson Button.
No, not really, because he was good, wasn't he? from the minute he got into a Williams, you could see he was really good, in the same way as George Russell lapping his teammate, for instance.
Yeah, but Charles Leclerc in a Sauber, you could see he was good.
Yeah, but he kept making lots of mistakes, and I can't help thinking that if you took, who would be a good example? Fucking Verstappen's quite a good example of it. Like, he made loads of mistakes when he came into Formula One, but he looked exceptional while he was doing it. And I don't think
Hamilton as well made a few mistakes in his first few years.
But he looked exceptional and almost won a championship in his first year.
Okay, Mika Hakkinen. He was making up the numbers quite a lot in his early career.
I think his car was making up the numbers. This is what I mean. I'm not taking out cars in this situation, but I think you can see drivers that have got potential. And I think if I'm not writing fucking Charles Leclerc off by any stretch of the imagination, but I just think if he was as good as we thought he was going to be, he'd have. It would be undeniable, and I don't think it's undeniable at the minute. And I don't think Ferrari can put. That's the awkward thing for them. They can't put their eggs in his basket because I don't think they can trust him to bring them home.
But they also screw up his qualifying.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
And then screw up his race, and then he doesn't look exceptional.
But do they have to do that to him during the race because he won't listen to them? And if that's the case, people won't like this, but that's not on, because Formula One is a team sport.
Are they telling him to hold back? And no one's going to like that when you're at an elite level of any sport, and you've got your team, your coaches.
No one's going to like it, but I don't understand why he thinks that would be different for him and Ferrari. When you see Ferrari and you know what their philosophy has been since Michael Schumacher was in the team, I don't understand why he all of a sudden thought he'd walk in and it would be the difference when his teammate has 4 world championships to his name.
I think a lot of the problem is that he is being forced not to drive to the best of his ability, and when you are that good at anything, if you're not doing something to the best of your ability, everything suffers.
Yeah, I think
I think he's definitely got the elite future world champion about him. It's just that he's not being given the opportunity to show it.
So do you think Ferrari might wreck him?
Every chance.
I don't think Ferrari will wreck him. I think he's probably under an unimaginable amount of pressure now.
Absolutely.
Because of what Ferrari is.
Yep.
And I think from what we've seen of him over the years, not many years, obviously, but I think it's going to make him stronger.
I hope so. Well, it's just, I'm wary of the. It's not really the mistakes or what get me with him. It's the qualifying, and you can't win a world championship if you qualify like he's qualifying. Because the best he's been in qualifying was Baku, and he crashed. And you can't deny that there's not a hint of Grosjean about this.
I don't know, that Purley got in Bahrain wasn't all that bad.
No, but yeah, I mean, he should be a race winner. I'm not going to take that away from him. The guy's obviously a good driver. That's fair. You know, I'm not saying by any stretch of imagination he's not a good driver. But again, if that was Grosjean that's making the mistakes he's making, we'd be fucking lambasting him for it.
But remember where Grosjean was in his first couple of years. He was upside down above other drivers.
This is true, but
Charles Leclerc is not there.
But we all thought that
and
Grosjean
has done the slow burn improvement to where he's
keep it on the track.
Or that's sometimes, but at least he's not
easier.
At least he's not nearly killing people now.
Yeah, this is true.
Just wounding.
Yeah, but that's right. All I'm saying is, I just think that he's showing, and Again, it's not his fault during the race if he keeps getting given a shit strategy, but his qualifying is proving Ferrari's point. And if he's then not listening to them during the race and putting the team in jeopardy, I can see why they're doing what they're doing.
I mean, he's only ignored team orders once when he did the pass on Vettel
that we know of.
China,
that we know of,
or was it Australia?
No, I think Australia. He was ordered to stay behind, and he did.
Mm-hmm.
It was either China or Bahrain where he.
But he did.
Vettel.
He did make a big thing about it in Australia. He made a big media thing of it afterwards.
No, I don't think he had any choice but to make a big media thing about it, just because of the scrutiny that comes with that red uniform.
No, but he didn't have to turn around and say, I did it because it made sense this time. If it doesn't make sense, I'm never going to do it. That's not what you say to the media if you want to try and diffuse a situation.
Yeah, maybe he's doing non-team prescribed mind games with Vettel.
Maybe.
How easily is Vettel rattled?
Oh, well, this is... Well, I think we're probably going to talk about this in a second, aren't we?
I think, the elephant in the room is now demanding tea and biscuits.
Right, okay. In you come, Dumbo.
What a fucking clusterfuck of a situation.
It's a strange one. Where do we stand with it?
Right, the first thing that I want to say is everyone that is comparing Vettel's penalty to the one that Verstappen got in Japan for barging Kimi, worlds apart. There's a difference between going over grass and losing your back end, and realizing you're not gonna make a corner in time and cutting a chicane and then
coming back on and hitting another
coming
driver.
back on and sliding into another driver.
Also, what you got to think of is with that particular move as well is when he went off, he's naturally being taken left and the long way around the corner, which is going to cost him more time. Verstappen chose to turn right and come back onto the track unsafely. Vettel had no choice of the way he re-entered the track. That's the sticking point here.
Yeah, Vettel didn't actually have control of the car until he was back on the racing line, pretty much.
So are we all agreed about that? Because when I first saw that, it looked to me like Vettel slammed the door shut on Hamilton.
Yeah,
it was only on the replays that I thought, no, he's not actually in control.
I don't think he had any idea that Hamilton was there. I don't think. I think he thought there was a chance he might be there because otherwise he'd have gone close to the wall.
Was he in control at that point, though?
No.
So it doesn't matter whether he knew he was there or not.
You watch the onboard. He eventually gets the wheel straight, and then he looks in his mirror to see what's going on around him. He's got far too much to fucking deal with to worry about what's going on there. And I'm sure the only thing that was going through his head was not ending up in that wall.
Yeah.
I mean, what the FIA have released, this came out came out this morning on Monday.
Yeah. You say released, I say shit out, but carry on.
Basically, the stewards said that he moved over to the right after he'd regained control of the car, and that's where the penalty came from.
So we're saying we don't believe that.
I don't believe that. I think this is. I think these statements that the FIA are going to put out now are more to protect.
Oh, this is pure damage control.
Yeah, but it's more. I think it's more to protect their stewards because, by all counts, your man's having a pretty hard time at the minute, which I definitely don't agree with. People should be fucking sending death threats and stuff to people over a decision.
The amount of crap that Emanuele Pirro has got since it happened has just been fucking ridiculous.
He's actually called John Jacobson now, and he's in a safe house somewhere.
Probably not in Italy.
Smuggled out of Canada under a blanket.
It's Edward Snowden's neighbour. But
I reckon the really important thing is, what is the penalty for? Is it to punish a driver for doing something dangerous?
Yeah.
Or is it to is it to make up to Lewis Hamilton the fact that if Vettel hadn't slid in front of him, Hamilton would have gone past?
See, I think the penalty's wrong. Not the giving of the penalty, because I think these things need clarified as well. The actual giving of the penalty is the right thing to do, because they decided that he infringed on this rule, so a penalty's been given for infringing on that rule. But funny enough, I don't think coming back on the track in an unsafe manner is actually the rule that he broke. I think it would have been more reasonable if he'd been nailed for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, because he left the track and kept Hamilton behind him where he probably shouldn't have had Hamilton behind him.
Yeah.
So leaving the track and gaining an advantage, to me, seems like the right call there.
He was far enough ahead of Hamilton that if he'd have taken the corner normally, I think he would have held the position.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton wasn't looking to make any kind of move on him at that point, because that's not a corner you can overtake on usually.
Yeah.
And I saw it as more of a racing incident.
I saw it as more of a racing incident.
His back end stepped out just before he was turning in fully.
Yeah.
And then bounced over the grass. I was convinced he was heading for the wall.
I think if that had, because someone turned around and said to me and said, if that had been Grosjean, you'd be slamming him for it. And I replied, if that had been Grosjean, he'd have crashed.
If Hamilton hadn't have been there, we would have been talking for days about what a great save that was.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it was. He had soon as he went on the grass and he bounced and skidded.
Yeah.
Like, he's done.
Yeah.
And then it was always going to take Hamilton with him. My God, how were they still both running?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Hamilton had to jump on the brakes because you don't expect to see a car coming sideways around that corner at you.
I don't think he'd have got a penalty last year. I don't think Charlie Whiting would have given him a penalty under that
I don't know.
umbrella. I mean, I think this is the problem I've got with the whole thing. Is he got a penalty, fine. People are upset because we got robbed of a race, which is perfectly acceptable. So let's call a tangerine a small orange here. What the conversation really needs to be is the rules in general, regardless of the incident. Do we want Formula One to back off these rules a little bit?
I think that's where the issue is, because there is no common sense able to be applied, because the rules are there in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to be followed.
And the rules don't say anything about rejoining the track under control.
In that case, we get rid of driver stewards and we have lawyers make the decisions. We have lawyers and mathematicians.
You read the Vettel quote?
No.
Oh, right. I'll get to that in a second. I've just got a tweet up on screen from Mario Andretti. I think he put this best yesterday. I think the function of the stewards is to penalise flagrantly unsafe moves, not honest mistakes as a result of hard racing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he makes a fair point.
Yeah.
Vettel made a mistake.
But again, is it penalising the driving, or is it giving restitution to Hamilton, who would have gone past if Vettel hadn't happened to stick his car in front of him?
But Hamilton forced Vettel into making a mistake. Yeah. So let's just say, for instance, that Hamilton knew the rules that we have in place, that there wouldn't be a penalty given. Let's say that was dead clear that there's going to be no penalty for this. So all of a sudden the driver mindset's different. So Hamilton's thinking, I've forced him into a mistake. Vettel is already penalised because he's got dirty tyres, he's just lost a bunch of time, and he's got fucking Lewis Hamilton like on his earlobes. So, I mean, what we want really as racing fans then is to see them go down into the next corner and Lewis Hamilton try to overtake him at the next opportunity because he's that close to him, and Vettel's got dirty tyres. So that Vettel's already been penalised because he's got fucking tyres full of grass that are now cold.
Yeah.
So, it's...
So do you think giving the penalty actually hurt the racing?
Absolutely, yeah. And the funny thing is,
Well, it stopped it being a race, didn't it?
It stopped it being a race, yeah. There was no point. Hamilton, I really wanted him to overtake him. But at the end of the day, why... Could you imagine the defending Vettel would have done if Hamilton would have tried to get past him? I think it would have ended up with both of them not finishing. And I think Lewis is clever enough to know, like, he must be raging inside that helmet.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't...
Raging and spending so much time talking about the penalty that he's not actually concentrating on the racing.
Well, it was getting relayed to Lewis after the penalty that Vettel's got the penalty. He's not happy.
Yeah.
You know.
So I think that's the thing. It doesn't matter what happened at that race almost, but what it's done is highlighted the sort of nanny state attitude that the rules have to racing.
I think they have made them too stringent because if we're seeing racing mistakes punished by penalties, and at the end of the day, that was a racing mistake by Vettel.
I can't help think that this all goes back to Max Verstappen. Like when they had to get tougher on rules because of the Max Verstappen moving under braking.
The quadruple move under braking.
Yeah, it's since then that it's been put on thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And you have to argue that we haven't got cars from like 1992 now. It's the safest Formula One has ever been. And a normal accident, let's say, just like two cars that come together and crash off into the distance, the chances of survival are so high. It's unbelievable. The chances of crashing at like 150 mile an hour with another Formula One car, you've probably got a higher chance of hurting yourself at crashing at 60 mile an hour in your road car.
Yeah.
So does that, if we make Formula One safe and we have to have the halos and stuff like that on the cars, does that not mean that we can relax slightly when it comes to the cars racing each other?
Well, I think it should do, because it's at the point now where racing is discouraged, and is F1 just turning into one big time trial where they all set off at the same time? Well, and is that how it's wanted?
I think it would be probably dangerous to the point where it's more likely to cause drivers to die.
Yeah.
If you relax the rules and say, okay.
I'm not saying throw in blue turtle shells.
But if you're saying, okay, you don't have to drive as safely as you used to because the cars are safe, I think that would probably end up with life-changing injuries.
Yeah.
But I think allowing
for life-changing injuries,
mitigating circumstances, to me, it all comes down to whether Vettel was in control. If he was in control and slammed the door shut on Hamilton, that's dangerous and a penalty.
Absolutely, yeah.
If he wasn't, then it's a mistake, and the only reason to penalise it is, as I say, if you're saying, well, Hamilton should have got past there.
There's another way of looking at this as well, because, again, I don't think he rejoined in an unsafe manner. I think he rejoined the only way he could do. So let's just think...
No, I think he definitely rejoined in an unsafe manner because none of his wheels were pointing in the direction he was moving.
Yeah. But
he was a passenger, and that's not exactly safe.
Yeah, but there was nothing... He didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't malicious.
The rule doesn't mention about anything about...
But the other interesting way to look at this is, if we just look at it as a pure way of leaving the circuit and coming back on, if he'd have done that without Lewis behind him, he'd have probably got 3 warnings before they gave him a penalty for doing that. Like when people are constantly going off the track. So then that seems like a strange thing, that then he does it once in that situation, but because there's someone else behind him, it's a slam dunk offence. I can't help think that a warning, Ferrari radioing into Vettel saying, "Look, we've had a word from the stewards. That was an unsafe move, and you can't do anything like that again."
Yeah, that would be what happened if he was cutting a chicane, something like that.
But I think that incident is more akin to cutting a chicane than it is barrel rolling back onto the track and hoping that you don't take 10 people out.
The Grosjean effect.
Yeah.
IndyCar have actually got it right around this because they in IndyCar you can be ordered by the stewards to swap position.
I mean, even that's not. It's
better.
It's better
because it still
looks bad.
It allows the racing to continue because that race was effectively neutralised as soon as the penalty was given.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure. I think Hamilton was just as desperate to get past, if not more so that when he was stood on the number 1 step, everyone knew he'd earned it.
Yeah. But again, I think if he didn't know he'd already won the race by following him, I think maybe that move might have been made
at the next corner.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, right? Is either of you think? Let's say that the penalty didn't happen. Yeah. We just carried on going now with Lewis exceptionally close to Vettel, even if he didn't manage to pass him into the next corner. Does anyone think that that Vettel could have gone 20 laps under that pressure? I still think the right man won. I still think one of two things would have happened. Either Lewis Hamilton would have overtook him and won the race because he had so much pace. As soon as he got into front of him, he'd have disappeared off into the distance. Or Vettel would have made another mistake, probably at a different corner, and either crashed or Lewis would have got past him. There was a Champions War moment all over Vettel.
Yeah. Vettel does obviously have a bit of a habit of cracking under pressure, but he doesn't always. It's not a guaranteed thing that he would have lost.
No, but he'd already done it.
He'd already done it once, but that might have been the once is enough.
Was that
for
the crack?
One thing, just while we're on this subject, just want to talk about something else that was going on with Vettel's race. I think it got completely overshadowed by this. It was actually about 5 or 6 laps before when Vettel was told to back off a little bit because of problems with the car. They were kind of undefined problems, and he was lapping a little bit slower.
The pundits think he was running out of fuel.
The speculation was they'd short-fueled him expecting a safety car.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was definitely something going on. Jolyon Palmer, all-round modern oracle of Formula One.
You've changed your tune like status quo haven't.
To be fair, I was the only one that kept saying that Jolyon Palmer had bad luck.
Amongst other things.
I think I was always reasonable with Jolyon. I always had faith in him turning it round. Didn't, but there we are. But he thinks that Vettel's complaining about the penalty isn't so much him complaining about the penalty, and he's Jedi mind tricked people to not talk about him making another mistake under racing.
Which at the end of the day, it's what it was.
Yeah. That's, again, Vettel crumbled when it came to racing somebody.
I mean, this...
I don't think it's a conscious Jedi mind trick, because if it was, then Vettel would be thinking, I've made yet another mistake. I best cover up my yet another mistake that I've made so that people don't notice how many mistakes I make.
He did lay it on thick, though.
At least with this one, he kept the car sort of pointing towards the finish line rather than a different country.
Mm-hmm.
He laid it on thick, which got the crowd on side.
Yeah. I think it's the first time he's ever been cheered. That was like he got what Mark Webber got after Multi-21.
Yeah.
I mean, one way that it does make a refreshing change is people complaining after the race that the FIA are doing everything to favour Mercedes. This comes after 40 years of they're only doing it all for Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, see, that's it. I don't think that they did it to favour Mercedes, but I do think there's obviously a turning of the tides with the Ferrari thing. You know, we hear about them standing up to Ferrari a little bit more.
Although Ferrari have vetoed the removal of the veto.
Yeah, they will not have that in the future of Formula One. There's no way the new rules pass with them having power of veto anymore.
Apparently, removing the veto isn't an option.
What?
The veto's staying.
Is it?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Ferrari.
That was in the news the week before last. I can't remember.
We talked about this last week. When...
Oh, yeah, but since then, there's been a load of teams come out to talk about it, hasn't there?
Well, we'll get to it in the news because there's a lot of 2021 stuff in there. Look now at the aftermath of the race. The epic tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen anything like that.
No, I genuinely thought he was going to boycott the podium.
I've been looking back to see when the last driver actually boycotted a podium ceremony. Somebody sent me a tweet saying Alan Jones in 1981, but I couldn't find what race it was.
Mm-hmm.
The only other race that I could find with drivers not on the podium was Japan in 1977, when James Hunt and Carlos Reutemann weren't there, but their excuse was the race was that delayed. They were actually both in cars on the way to the airport, still in their race suits.
Can I help someone to go, James?
He had an appointment. There was the weekly meeting of the Mile High Club.
Yeah. We've got 15 blowjobs to get through today.
Come on, you tried to separate James Hunt from a 1970s air stewardess. It's going to take a damn sight more than a contractually obliged podium ceremony to do that. But yeah, the number swapping, that's Insta meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it already has been. There's a great meme of him stealing the Mona Lisa. That would be my favourite one I've seen so far.
He also said, and again, I'm thinking this isn't what he said, and this is PR spin and more damage control. Mm-hmm. His returning to the podium was a matter of respect for his rivals.
I know that his manager was sent to find him and calm him down and get him onto the podium. I suspect that was one of the things his manager told him, that if he doesn't go to the podium, then it's a big amount of disrespect to the other guys.
I think what got him to go to the podium is someone turned around and said, look, you're obligated to do this. If you don't go to the podium, you're going to get a penalty in the next race.
Yeah.
I think he'd have got a grid drop for that.
I think he would have probably been disqualified.
Yeah, he'd have definitely been disqualified from the race, but I think he'd have got a penalty for the next race as well.
So I was looking it up, and I don't know what the punishment for missing the podium is. I think it's in the FIA regulations, but I am not reading them.
No.
I don't think I've got enough hard drive space to download them.
No. You only start going around doing those sort of things when you get paid for doing this.
Exactly.
It seems the sort of rule that would only be brought in after this sort of thing happened, because who on earth wouldn't go to the podium?
Yeah.
You've just come second. Why aren't you going to go and get your champagne and your trophy?
It would have to be some big like political movement, like a take a knee type situation, wouldn't it, for that to happen? Apart from Vettel, probably wanted to take a knee to the stewards.
When he stormed through the Mercedes garage, I thought there was...
I thought he was going to go and do something there.
I'm now just mentally composing or photoshopping in my head Colin Kaepernick replacing Sebastian Vettel on the podium.
I thought he
Anyone going to be Photoshop? Go to it.
I thought he was going to go and punch Toto Wolff in the shin.
The thing that really confused me was you saw Toto Wolff walking out of the garage.
Yeah.
As Vettel was walking in. And Toto didn't give him a second glance. It was like, oh yeah, Ferrari driver walking through our garage, that's fine.
News just in, Toto colourblind.
Yeah, the whole situation, and then making him do the catch-up interview with Martin Brundle.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of damage control as well.
I think, again, his manager had reminded him what he was obliged to do and the penalties for not doing it.
I think I thought Vettel was good about the booing.
Yes.
That was a good move.
Yeah, and I'm calling out dickheads of the week, the ones that were booing Lewis Hamilton. Wasn't his fault.
Yeah, I don't even think they were booing Lewis Hamilton, to be perfectly honest. I think they were booing the situation.
Yeah.
It's just that wouldn't have mattered who that was. It wasn't particularly Lewis that was getting the boos. It was just the.
It was the guy that the crowd didn't see as having deserved winning.
At the end of the day, it's almost like going to a boxing match and then finding out towards the end of the match that the match was fixed.
Yeah,
you're not going to be happy with it. Every one of those people there.
So 50% of occasions going to a boxing match.
Yeah, or 50%. But it's
I don't want to get sued.
Yeah. So I fucking hell, you've thrown me well off now. Because bringing boxing up, all I've got through my head is that brilliant meme of the knockout the other day. Did you see it? With Joshua getting hit and then his soul leaving his body, going to the airport, boarding a plane, and then the plane takes off. It's fucking brilliant. But
a victory for dad bodies everywhere. That fight.
Everybody in that circuit paid their money to get there. Their £200 for the race ticket, probably, or somewhere within the range of £200 a race ticket. I can understand why they were upset by the outcome when you get. That would have been a classic Grand Prix. That would have been on the replays of the last 30 laps for the rest of fucking time.
Yeah,
it's just not on. It's the same. It's funny thing is we've had. I don't even know if people had thought of it this way, but that's 2 races we've had like that. Because in Monaco, of course, Verstappen was chasing Hamilton down with a penalty, so he couldn't win the race. We've just had another race which was won by a driver because of a penalty getting given. So, of course, people have got to think that this has gone too far.
So, driver of the day.
Lance Stroll. Jesus Christ, that felt weird.
Not actually said that since Baku 2 years ago.
Never. The only time I think anyone's ever been that nervous to say something would have gone around the lines of someone saying, "Yeah, Mum, Dad, I'm gay." It's right up there with the things that are difficult to tell people.
I'm not going with Lance Stroll because I don't think he did.
Because it feels better not to.
Well, no, I don't think he did anything particularly spectacular to get into 9th place.
You're probably right. He just had a good drive.
Couple of overtakes. It was just things went his way. So for me, I think Danny Rick.
Danny Rick, if you just go off the race, I think saying that. Do you know what? You can't knock what Verstappen did.
No, not at all.
Verstappen starting from where he did and then beating his teammate as well.
Started 9th, finished 5th.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Danny Rick with an honourable mention for Danny Kvyat.
Yeah, it's a good drive as well.
Hero, Gunther Steiner.
Yeah.
Stewards. And I'm sticking with stewards because I bet on Lewis Hamilton to win.
I'm almost dreading the responses to this next one. Villain of the weekend.
Lando Norris's back tyre. Had the potential to be a fucking murderer if it was 3 seconds earlier.
I'm going Grosjean.
Grosjean for seeing his teammate flying across the track with 2 wheels, thumping into the wall and stopping moving completely.
Actually, I'm going to go for the McFly moment of the weekend. Roman, it's all about you, Grosjean.
Yeah. I'm struggling to disagree.
And honourable mention for Kevin Magnussen. Yeah, I know the mechanics stayed up all night fixing the car, but it's a bit shit now.
It's been a weekend of damage control all round from God knows how many different sources.
Actually, when you think about it, there was a load of bad weekends, wasn't there, for people? Like every team, somebody had a bad race. The only team that Yeah, every team, because I was going to say the only team that didn't was Ferrari, because Charles Leclerc still ended up on the podium, but realistically, his teammate was in the wars. Every team, it was apart from Renault. Renault, both their drivers finished well. But
Renault,
they're the only team.
the only ones that came through the entire weekend, both drivers doing well.
Yeah.
Oh, my other hero of the weekend is the lady from Mercedes, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten what her name was, who was on the podium and completely didn't read the room, spraying champagne all over Vettel.
Oh yeah, she was stuck out the back. All she did was look at a laptop for the whole race, wasn't she? She just looked at numbers. And she thought, "Oh, this is great." But,
it's like you said on Sunday.
It's the one time she's ever going to get the chance to do that.
It would. The only thing that would have been less fitting is if she took her top off, started swinging around her head, shouting "spring break."
But we were really, really wanting in the blog room. We were really wanting Charles Leclerc to go up to Martin Brundle and say, "Well, I'm happy."
Yes.
So, predictions. How did we do? We will start with the absent folk. First one, do the guest predictor. This week was Jana, regular listener. She went for Hamilton, Bottas, and Verstappen, with a caveat, not a caveat. But my heart says Leclerc, Vettel, and Ricciardo, which would have actually ended up with more points. So 3 points there. Chris went for Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc, 6-pointer. Sean, Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, a 3-pointer. Dan, Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc, 4 points. And Lee, we ended up both going for the same.
Did we?
Yeah, we both went for Hamilton, Bottas, and Vettel, and both ended up with 4 points. So I am still in the lead on 33. Mm-hmm. Lee, you are now tied for second place with Chris on 24. Dan closing up with 20. Guest predictors on 19, and Sean on 16.
Wow.
Oh dear, Sean.
Sean needs to turn this around quickly.
She needs to learn more about reporting stuff.
Or as she was called this week, the actual expert. Did you see Joshua Kaiser's descriptions of us all on Twitter?
No.
Lee quotes the expert.
Yes.
Me, the ringmaster. Chris, the musician. Dan, the international man of mystery, and Sean, the actual expert.
To be fair, I've christened myself that because the Hot Laps description says Formula One podcast with self-described Formula One expert.
So we'll do it all again in France a week on Saturday.
Yeah.
News. Bloody knackered already after that.
I know, yeah.
But we have some bits. The 2021 regulations were due to come out in 2 weeks' time, on a Tuesday, of course.
Yeah.
But the agreement on them has now been put back to October. However, F1 are now having, it's not quite a crisis meeting yet, but it's not far off being a crisis meeting this Thursday to try and get things thrashed out. Because it's not just the technical regulations that are on the board. It's the sporting and financial rules as well that are all getting changed. So there's more to this than stock parts. And I think a lot of this comes down to the number of races. Because the maximum that Formula One have said will ever happen in one season is 25. And apparently there were plans discussed in Canada amongst the team principals for reducing the length of the weekend and getting rid of media day on Thursday or Wednesday for Monaco. Having all the press conferences and media duties Friday morning while the support race practices and qualifyings were going on. And then having both practice sessions, or both Friday practice sessions, in the afternoon. And then not changing Saturdays and Sundays, but only requiring teams to be at the circuit for the 3 days instead of 4.
Do you know what you could do? You could just scrap media day. I mean, realistically, the drivers are interviewed so much over the course of a weekend, in the pit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're interviewed by the same people over and over again.
Asking the same questions.
Yeah. So and even if you wanted to keep the driver's one, Get rid of the team one. Get rid of the team principals press conference.
I don't know. It's quite funny when you get Cyril Abiteboul and Christian Horner on the same panel.
The only people that watch the team principals press conferences are their mums.
Apart from Claire Williams, because I think her mum died a few years ago.
Well.
But yeah, I know what you mean about the team principals press conference.
At least her team's going to meet her mum then.
Moments of respect for Jacques Villeneuve. Be my version of that one day. Yeah, I know what you mean about the team principals press conference, but the thing is, though, the team principals they've usually got shareholders and bigger sort of corporate entities to answer to and have to put the right message across. And
but they do separate media events for those. Like all the corporate stuff is done like in house, isn't it? They do those things separately.
I think it's just for sponsors, just getting the logos out there and getting TV time.
You could handle it a different way.
But this is why they're going to scrap the whole separate media day and just have media morning.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, because there's not a great deal happens on a Thursday. No fans are there, and it's just basically drivers being wheeled out for interviews.
But isn't it so Formula One? It's when you think they've got decisions to make whether they change qualifying. They've got decisions to make whether they run 2 races over a weekend. They've got decisions to make about what aero regs they're going to have. Do they change the engine regulations? Are they going to have more races? And what they're concentrating on is when they sit down and talk to the media.
Yeah, but this is all to do with the more races because it's kind of a compromise. If they have the teams there at the circuit for fewer days.
No, I know it's all to do with it, but it just strikes me as just a Formula One being fucking over self-indulgent with what it's got to sort out.
I think the simple solution is you have 25 race weekends. Points from your best 21 go towards the championships. That means teams don't need to do all of them.
And that's the simple way to do it.
The problem is this was the issue that they had before the first Concord agreement when you got a lot of teams missing the flightaway races because they had them at the start and the end of the season.
Then you make some of them compulsory.
Yeah, but how bad would that be? The trying to explain that we're trying to get more people into Formula One, and then you have to turn around and say, right, well, yeah, but see what we've got this weekend.
Mercedes aren't here because
they're not very good around Germany, so they just don't turn up, and they can use that as one of their joker weekends where they don't score points. It doesn't work, does it?
No.
It's like turning around and saying in the Champions League next year, yeah, every team can have a 0-0 draw if they don't want to take part.
Yeah. Yeah, you need all teams at all races.
Yeah.
That's the only way for it to work.
I don't know.
Formula Dan.
And you need every race points to count.
Yeah.
Because remember when all the different systems that they used to use.
Yeah.
When at one point it was X number of races from the first half of the season and X number from the second half. Then it was your worst 3 results don't count.
Remember when that crazy old vampire said they should have medals instead of points?
Yes.
Oh, God.
That was because he wanted Massa to win, and Massa would have won the Drivers' Championship if they'd done that the year before.
I don't think he wanted Massa to win. I think he wanted his overalls to win.
How many times did Bernie say on grid walks when Brundle asked him, who do you think is going to win today? I said, don't know who I think is going to win, but I want it to be a Ferrari.
Well, this is the funny thing, like the amount of times he turned around and said, yeah, well, Ferrari's Formula One and Formula One's Ferrari, and you just feel like going over to him and picking him up, because I think it'd be dead easy, and shaking him, going, not everyone thinks that, you little cunt.
I just hope this whole 2021 business is sorted out soon, because I'm sick of all these, this might happen, this isn't going to happen, oh, it might do again. Just decide what the fuck's going on.
What upsets me about it is if Formula One could get themselves straight, what they should be doing is using this build up to what the regulations are going to do is a big PR exercise, because then we could get excited for it.
Yeah.
You know, with all the leaked pictures coming out of what Formula One cars might look like, and the idea of like, have you seen like the mesh tire things where they all look really fucking ace? And the you know what's going to happen is 2021 is going to come around and the cars are going to look mildly different. And all the money that's gone into testing these ideas out, all the like promises that have been made about making cars that are fucking follow each other. What was I saying last week that I'd read that they only want to
reduce the projected tire deg following a car from to 20% of what it was, but now they've decided it's going to be 50 or something.
No, it was like they lose like 90% of the or 80% of the downforce, and Ross Brawn said he wanted to get that down to losing 20% of the downforce. I think it was something like that. Anyway, and you just think, like, how hard can it be? I know there's a lot of money involved in Formula One, but it's not just me saying this now from a house in the Isle of Man. You've got like pundits like Chandok and Damon Hill saying it. You know, people that are involved in Formula One saying, look, Ross Brawn just needs to get rules together, walk into a meeting, throw it down on the table and say, they're the regulations for next year. Do you want in?
Yeah.
And every team's going to sign it because they've all spent millions and hundreds of millions building stuff to do it.
Yeah.
We've experienced that firsthand at Mercedes, haven't we? When there was rumours that Mercedes were going to get pulled out, and the guy that was showing us around the factory was saying, like, they've just invested like $100 million. They're going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, they just built the control centre.
Yeah, and they had a new coffee machine.
Yeah, didn't see one monster can dispensing machine in the whole time we were there.
No, that's because people in Formula One are far too physically fit to drink Monster.
Including the designers.
Yeah, that's it. I find that hilarious. You know, when you see Lewis Hamilton like sipping on a fucking Monster thing, or even someone drinking a can, and you go, "There is no way there is that sugary caffeinated shit in that."
Look at the Monster cans that you see athletes drinking, and they all say on them "Tour Water," and they are cans of mineral water in a Monster can.
Are they?
Yes,
of course they are. It's I remember reading a study about it once where they. If you take a blood sample from somebody, have them drink a can of Red Bull, and then take a blood sample immediately after, your blood is measurably thicker after drinking one can.
I've got to go through this in a couple of weeks. It's part of the testing for diabetes.
Yeah,
and drink a can of Red Bull.
Yeah, and part of the ongoing test as well.
Yeah.
You give a blood sample, you have an energy drink, and then give another blood sample, and they compare everything in the blood from obviously sugar levels to viscosity. It's
insulin levels, isn't it? See if your insulin spikes, isn't it? When you've had all that sugar in you.
Yeah, your blood glucose.
Yeah,
spikes. Yeah, which is why I've had to stop drinking energy drinks since I found out I was diabetic. Still do,
not a bad thing.
Yeah, still have the occasional one, but I've been told to stop. Shall we shunt it?
Why not? I know which one I'm using. I haven't got it up. Stall.
I am stalling. Just to let you know, if you want to send a total shunt in, you can do it by Twitter direct message to @ATotalShunt.
That's me.
Or if you're not on Twitter, and if a couple of people would kindly do this, send them by email to 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, because I've got the reserve list, and for weeks when Lee's not around, I will be able to do that, and I'll get a plug in now for our extra show on Patreon. Basically, it funds what we do. You get an extra podcast every week, a couple of extra exclusives. Still be a musical exclusive coming up in the next 2 weeks once I've finished doing it. Whether you want that or not, tough. If you go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels...
More chance of the Formula 1 rules changing there is you finishing that.
Oh, come on. I tore a tendon in my thumb just before I did all the gigs over TT. I had to put the guitar down. Just go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, and you can sign up there from as little as $1 a month. Was that enough stalling for you? Put your phone down.
Sorry, someone just sent me a picture of Miley Cyrus. I had to look.
Have they heard tonight's Patreon show already?
I know, it's weird, isn't it? How strange. I was born.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Before they were born, who's it from?
I'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you one minute. He knows who it is. I've already spoken to him and told him I was using his.
But it would be nice for everybody else to know.
I'll tell you afterwards because I don't want to zoom out because at the minute I don't know who it is, and I like it when that happens. It makes it exciting for me too.
Fair enough.
I was born in 1956.
Right, okay. So that would make whoever it was old. 63 this year.
I was very competitive in European sports car championships, achieving praise from Eddie Jordan.
Praise from Eddie Jordan is occasionally a rare thing, or misplaced.
Which is what happens when he finds a coffee table.
For a 63-year-old, that's... You would think Eddie Jordan would be praising younger people.
And don't forget, Jordan was running Formula 3 teams back in sort of late 70s, early 80s. When he was selling carpets out the back of his car behind the bank he was working in. Now he just wears one on his head.
I can answer this question for you with the next question. I made a few guest appearances in his Formula 3 team. I'd like a guess.
Sticking on the Irish side of things, possibly John Watson.
Yeah, that
Irish
plausible.
Irish people do like praising other Irish people.
I mean, that would have been round about the time when Formula 1 drivers were racing in other series alongside.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got John Watson for the first guess.
I have 3 wins, 9 podiums, and 194 points.
Can't remember now if Watson actually won any races. No, this is... I think we might need to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
My father, Paulie, was 1968 European Rally champion. Can't speak.
People with fathers called Paulie are usually also in the mafia.
I think people which have the first name of Paul and they decide to unabbreviate it to Paulie need damage done to them. I'm
called Paul and most people call me Pablo, which is kind of an unabbreviation. How does that work?
Yeah, that's just weird. we can't get into that, but...
No, I got it called because I got accused of having siestas at work every afternoon.
That's absolutely tremendous. That's the best version of a nickname I've ever got since someone I knew lost his job and then was nicknamed U-Boat because he was always looking for a sub.
Used to know a guy in Leeds whose nickname was Brasso because that's what he ran his motorbike off for 2 weeks when he ran out of money and he couldn't afford 2-stroke fuel.
Anyway,
moving swiftly on.
I won my first World Rally Championship victory with Talbot Sunbeam Lotus in 1980.
Now better known as a Chrysler. Or a Peugeot.
I have.
We're definitely looking at somebody from... I'm going to go from the British Isles.
That's such an 80s sounding car name, a Talbot Sunbeam, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
I vaguely remember the car. They were similar to Nissan Sunnies, weren't they?
Pretty much. You probably know it better these days, a Peugeot 205.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I have no clue on...
No, I don't know. Was that number 6?
Yeah.
Oh, God, we need a guess. Sorry, what year was it?
1980, and I just noticed another line. It was the 1980 Lombard RAC Rally of Great Britain, just after my 24th birthday. But realistically, I don't believe anything there helps.
All I know about the Lombard RAC Rally is they used to show it as a Top Gear special. And me and some colleagues of mine once held up a live night stage.
Is that before Top Gear went into the business of entertaining people?
Yes.
And
it was when Noel Edmonds used to be the presenter.
I do love Noel.
How much did you get away with when you held up the night stage?
Oh. We've all had one tonight.
I approve.
On the subject of who the hell this is, I've now got less than no idea.
Negative ideas.
Yeah. I really honestly don't know. Derek Daly.
Why not?
Yeah. Okay. We'll go for Derek Daly as a second guess.
I had the record of being the youngest driver to ever win a world rally. Until my countryman won the Swedish rally in 2008.
So there's a good chance this could be somebody Nordic, Scandinavian.
They won a Swedish rally.
But all the best rally drivers have been from Finland anyway.
This is true. They are pretty good at it.
Yeah. Next clue.
Yeah.
After driving for Opel and Porsche, I signed for Lancia. Lancia is a nice word. I like that word.
I've got a feeling I'm gonna know this when we get told the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still. Next one.
I was almost paralysed in 1985. Am I Superman? No, that was 90s.
Well, you have just taken your glasses off, so that means you were Clark Kent.
I might be Sean.
No, she's not Ginger. Yeah, this is going to be kick yourself on it. Is there a clue 10? Do we have a clue 10 and a spaffer?
Yep.
Good.
My last rally was in 1986. Was in 1986 in the Tour de Corsa.
So I think we're looking for a rally driver here.
What makes you say that?
Picked up one or two things that sound vaguely
Spaffer.
Spaffer.
The Race of Champions was organised in my honour by Michael Monton? No idea.
Michel Mouton.
Michel Mouton, yeah. And
so, wrong name, wrong sex, but you got there in the end.
Well, do you know what the funny thing was? I meant to say Michel, and then I was spending so long trying to work out what the second name was. It all went wrong. And Frederick Johnson.
Now, that screws up what one of my guesses would have been, because I was thinking, could it be Michel Mouton?
No, it's not.
Because she wouldn't have set up an event in her own honour.
No.
She's French, but not that French. Sorry, honour.
I do not have a clue.
80s rally driver. Too late for Tony Pond. I would have thought.
I'm going to have to rushes.
I've got nothing.
No.
This has beaten us.
I can't even pronounce his second name. I am Henry Tavone. Fucking you say that. That is not the word for dyslexic man.
Henry Toivonen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never heard of him.
unsurprisingly,
rally driver.
a Finnish rally driver.
that
was an absolute sod.
That was set in by.
Oh, Santeri Onasti.
Oh, is that? Yeah, of course it is.
Yes.
I'm no good.
Who
with
is
names.
from Finland?
Well, I remember him getting in touch with me about that and saying, "Do you think this is too obscure?" I was like, "No."
No, that was an absolutely cracking
that was
one.
quite tricky.
Yes,
especially when there was only two of us,
definitely,
and only one of us was actually coming up with any answers.
And Flood's probably more the boy for rally, actually, isn't he?
Yeah. We were at least one brain down.
And the T-Rex did nothing.
I forgot he was even here.
No, he's on Twitter as well. I've already tweeted the photo. Right, Formula Lee. It's time for a jump cut, and as promised, here is the Formula Lee jump cut. This week was Canada in a dry lap in a Renault, and to get into the top 20, you needed 110.298 or faster. And the people that did that were 20th place Marcel Streak, 19th was Pete Bull, 18th Ross Tuddenham, 17th was Nick Betts, 16th was Gregory Zobel, 15th was Joe Marsh, Paul Robert Burley was in 14th, Rob McLoughlin 13th, Ken Lauderbach 12th, Kyle Armstrong 11th. On to the top 10. 10th place with a time of 109.597 was Weitzer Camping. In 9th was Adam Smith. 8th was Julian McMahon Hyde. 7th, Alberto Roldan. 6th was James Holman. 5th was Josh McCarthy. And Ollie Vestley was in 4th. Top 3. With a time of 109.287 in 3rd was Alessandro Popolani. In 2nd with 109.096 was Ricky Worrell. And winning again this week, he's on a streak this season, Chris Olby, with a time that smashed everybody else's, 108.579. Right, your next challenge is France, and that is going to be in the dry. It's also going to be in a Toro Rosso this time, and you've got until 7 o'clock UK, 2 o'clock Eastern on June the 24th to get your times into us. That about does it for this week's Formula Lee. I think that about does it for this week, doesn't it?
Pretty much.
If you want to get in touch, then get us on Twitter at 3legs4wheels, Facebook, facebook.com/3legs4wheels. If you're old school and want to email 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, get us individually at
Dan Dankleton,
at Ital Shunt,
at Pablo100, at Flood21, and at Sean Cowper as well. Don't forget the Patreon show, which we have already given a plug for slightly earlier. See, I got it in early this time.
We should do it at the beginning of the show.
I know we should do it at the beginning of the show. I might actually just record a separate section so I drop it in every time.
Yeah.
That would
or
be...
we just talk about it.
Oh, we talk about it. We could, don't we talk about it enough? We will be back next week with a preview of the French Grand Prix. And Dan, if we get a chance, you fancy doing a Le Mans preview show before Saturday? Because there is the 24 hours of Le Mans coming up with a lot of Formula One interest.
Yeah, sounds good.
I know you'll be recording one of your 70 trillion other podcasts at the time.
Busy weekend, yeah. People come check out Must See Audio. There's lots of stuff there.
And if you're watching Le Mans, we'll be about on Twitter all weekend. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Ciao,
Goodbye.
Vedecci.